Do you have any advice specific to AI in terms of reducing bias or otherwise making them fairer?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've touched on a couple of them, right? So you could start with pair. I love just having this framework that you can use. How you collect the data and what kind of data that you have. Check it for both. Are there biases built into it, or is there unrepresented data that I actually need to go and get? There's also, one of the things that I kind of love about the data field as well is this movement into more inclusive design principles, like true, almost a little bit becoming more like software design, right? Where you're actually thinking about how it gets used, how it gets consumed, and building that into the design process, right? So, in as much as it's a design, bias awareness techniques that we talked about earlier, and making sure that it's there. I also think you're going to monitor, right, and measure, which we all know we should be doing with our models and in data. And so you're looking for ways to look for impacts, right, and equity on various populations. You're going to ask yourself, again, this concept of being uncomfortable. You might need to ask yourself on some uncomfortable questions and actually test for that, right, in the outcomes of your product. And then maybe last, much like we talked about earlier around literacy and culture, I think increasing the literacy of your team around these issues is important. So as I mentioned here at Truist, a couple of years ago, we actually did it was a 3-day half session with Dr. Brandeis Marshall around how do we incorporate these concepts and teaching people to think about it. Brookins talks about companies need to think about and actually debate the trade-offs. So as you're going to market, I think having the lexicon and a place where people come together to talk about the trade-offs of, okay, really effective, maybe very surgical, but I'm seeing adverse impact here. Are we all good with that? Or are there things we should also be doing and including maybe humans in the loop, right, to help deliver a message or provide options for whoever's consuming this product or service.
That's really interesting, the idea of having humans in the loop. So, how do you envisage that humans sort of interact with these sort of AI ideas, and like who gets the decisions? How do you decide? Like, how does that affect diversity? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, I think looking at in some sort of framework where you decide where you are applying the technology, right? Where you might not need a human in the loop. For example, maybe on a back office, system. I'm looking at uptime and I'm doing some self healing using like AI, right? I may not need as much of a human in the loop in that, but I think you do want to consider where there are times and places and spaces where it's best to have human decision makers helping you to really think about the solution, the output, etc. And I maybe I'm an outlier. I kind of feel like AI is most powerful when paired with a human, right? Not to override. Okay, I always tell my husband, if Waze told you go left, just go left. You don't need to override her all the time. But I do think it's a powerful opportunity, and maybe even a little bit more surgical way than we have in the past to really help humans be more effective and efficient at doing certain tasks, right? And so I think I think we're going to end up with different types of jobs that still require humans, right? Because in terms of how you deliver this and how you use that expertise to hone the output is going to be important as well.